welcome to the Dancing Bear Enlightenment Academy Holistic Transformation Podcast. We have a wonderful guest today, Agnes Laughlin, a holistic practitioner. She is the founder of Miracles in Wellness. After employment in various aspects of healthcare for 40 years, including as a nurse and nurse practitioner, she gradually expanded into various healing modalities, including parasite expert, beliefs and emotional healing, higher brain living, wellness advocate, certified life coach, and Joy Facilitator. Today, she will talk to us about loneliness and the happiness connection. Welcome, Agnes.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Bev. It's so nice to be here.
And we're glad to have you. So tell us your transformational story as a nurse, and now you're more online. So tell us that story. How'd you get started?
Well, Bev, I think it started probably when I was, the minute I came into the world. I think I came into the world a little, and I was more the introvert, introspective person. And when I was 8 years old, I went to live in an orphanage with my two siblings.
Oh, gosh.
And it was an interesting experience. I was around many children, but I didn't feel, a desire to really connect or play. It was, what am I? But something came to my attention. It was a little library of books, fairy tales. They caught my attention, and I was fascinated. It was a wonderful world to escape into, beautiful girls, happy endings, all kinds of little challenges and all that ended happily most of the time. But gradually I graduated to better books. I went to Sherry Ames Nurse, Nancy Drew. I'm probably dating myself, but that was what was in the library there. So I got my hands on things that motivated me or, allowed me to escape. And one thing I vowed that I would never become a nun. I lived with those nuns. Life is full of adventures. I'm going to go out and have adventures. So, fast forward a number of years, I got married. I had two children. I'm in my 40s, and one day I just sat down with myself and I wrote in my little journal, whatever, that I have no friends. I felt lonely, and there was more probably to the story, including, just a sense of disconnection from life. And I didn't understand it at the moment or, for a number of years after that even. And lo and behold, like when I was 64, my husband, I met this woman who was a doctor. She was not well. And I had some emotional issues that I just didn't understand. I wanted, something more to connect to. And so I called this gentleman who I knew. And I told him, this person is muscle testing, and I'm, not sure about higher consciousness she's pretending or whatever. But he recommended a book to me. That book absolutely changed my life. It was called Power versus Force by David R. Hawkins. Are you familiar with that work?
No.
No. Well, he's an American psychiatrist. You wouldn't know it from reading the book, but he talks about muscle testing and a map of higher consciousness. There's different levels of consciousness or awareness. And he talked about, not only the lower levels like anger or fear or, there's other ones too. But there's higher levels ones like joy and can't think beyond joy, but there is more enlightened ways. And whatever he was talking about, I said, this is something that I want. And I decided that I would create it because, in the Bible, it says, ask and you shall receive. So I was constantly working on myself to create more connection. And it was first it began, with, just, I had already listing. It was about healing modalities, about releasing emotional baggage, about releasing limiting beliefs. It was all of that, but it was about really me personally intending to create that for myself because I think connection to the self and to our own inner guidance, our own intuition, that we're spiritual beings, that we have more to our lives than just external creations. So yeah, it was an amazing experience for me, and I've never been the same since I read that book.
Yeah, once you go in, when I wrote my book on meditation, there's a warning in the front. This will change your life. Because once you go in, it's not the same. We think everything is outside of us, and it's not. It's all within. And the only one that can make you happy is you.
Yes. So many of us have no idea, there's, I like to think there's little tools, like meditation is a tool, but there are little tools that can help us see beyond the fact that, we're not just our thoughts, we're not just, around us, although the people and relations that we cultivate are very, very, life is probably meaningless without relationships. But a lot of the times we think that other people or our partner especially will help us create more happiness, more connection, but it's really not necessarily, because one of my favorite teachers is Esther Perel, Perel. She's a New York psychotherapist, and she works with couples, but she always says that we depend so much on other people to help us have more connection and happiness, but really the more we disempower ourselves, saying that so-and-so is going to make me happy, because that's really our responsibility to create that. And we create that in relationship to others, but it's not one specific person, because if we give our power away to just one specific person, we're always going to sort of be disappointed in some way, because even we probably disappoint ourselves because perfect in our game all the time. We're always, I like to say, evolving.
Yes, always. Well, hopefully we're always evolving and growing.
Yes, hopefully, yes.
Yeah. So you no longer feel lonely, do you? You got rid of that, right?
Well, I would say that I won't say I'm never lonely. I will say that when I have feelings of always feelings, I'm not my feelings. I have feelings sometimes that, I'm a little off that day, or things aren't as well as I would like, but I always, like even when the rain falls or, it's cold and dreary and dark in the winter, we do have moments, but they don't last. It's not about, I think depression and anxiety in young people is becoming more and more common. And it's really about just not acknowledging the even though we have these feelings, we have the ability to go beyond them, to create more, that we really disempower ourselves by, it's not like we're not never lonely. It's about, we don't wallow in loneliness, or, it's about acknowledging all parts of ourselves, really.
And then what's the connection to happiness?
The connection to happiness. Well, I mean, it's a process, and I love to say I have a free gift that helped start the journey. I think Louise Hay had the right idea. And I mean, I'm not the originator. Everyone, who has real connection has self-love. So it's about acknowledging that, we love ourselves in spite of all our our challenges, all our issues. None of us is perfect. Even, the great gurus had their own challenges, but I'd say self-love. And, Louise Hay said, look in the mirror every day and say, I love myself. And it's really about even though you don't feel it all the time, it's about just repeating that to your subconscious. And gradually you'll believe more of it. You won't feel so uncomfortable just saying, I love myself.
Think people feel uncomfortable saying they love themselves?
Yes, I think some people do. Absolutely. Even if you don't want to acknowledge it, it's the subconscious, the little small talk in the back of our heads saying, maybe you're not worthy of that, or, something from your past saying, you can't have that, or you're too whatever, you're too old to whatever, have more love or whatever. It's never too late. You're never too old. There's only the now. The now.
So stopping the negative self-talk.
Yes.
Very good. So you mentioned your free gift. I have 10 ways to have more joy ebook. And then you also have a meditation, right?
Yes.
Okay. So for those of you on YouTube, I'm going to have the link down below. And if you're listening to the podcast, you go to miraclesinwellness.com/free gift, all lowercase. So it's miraclesinwellness.com/free gift. And there's actually 2 gifts there.
Yes.
Wonderful. That's very nice. So do you have anything else you want to talk about with loneliness and happiness connection?
I would say, there's so many things to, being in healthcare my whole life. I love to talk about parasites and how that is so rampant, where some of us are probably aware of it, but like there's so many toxins affecting us. And even newborns, they've done scientific studies. It's called body burden in newborns. You can Google that. It's just newborn babies come into the world with over 200 toxic chemicals in their umbilical cord. That was done in 2003 or 4. But it's important for us to realize that as we age, that and the environment around us is becoming more and more toxic, more toxic things than, glyphosate is like, I guess you would call it herbicide. It's very toxic to the brain and to the whole body. And it's important to realize, that like you would change the oil in your car, it's important to clean your body out. And there are easy ways to do that. You don't have to necessarily, do anything expensive or anything, but it's important to detoxify those toxic chemicals. And those chemicals allow what I would call parasites to live and thrive. Things like mercury and glyphosate, you name it. We're full of toxic chemicals that just allow parasites to live, grow, and multiply in us that we're not even aware of, because the medical profession is no longer focused on detecting or being aware of parasites. I mean, they talk about maybe viruses here and there and vaccines, but the issue is that we are full of toxins and parasites. And so I'm an expert at detecting them through muscle testing, and it's not so difficult to get rid of them, but yeah, it is a process. Thank you.
That's very true. And there's all kinds of different parasites, and they're microscopic in a lot of cases. So
Oh, yes.
not
Yes.
necessarily tapeworm and
Nanobacteria. I mean,
nanobacteria. Yeah.
they're quite amazing, and they are, in us. So it's important to create an environment so that we, don't attract them and that we can release them. Yeah, I think it's about both, cleaning our bodies out and having better thoughts. And
Yeah, thoughts are part of the problems as well.
yes.
So tell us about higher brain living. What is that about?
Oh, well, thank you for asking. Higher Brain Living was founded by Michael Cotton. He combined two different modalities. I think it was a process of what I would call, he was so it's
It
about
was a what?
chiropractor,
Oh, a chiropractor.
but it's about visioning your life in 4 areas, and about sending energy with my fingers to your prefrontal cortex, that's your higher brain, where you can bypass the lower brain actually and have more energy there in the higher brain by I guess you would call it activating more of the sympathetic system, because the sympathetic is where all the stress lies. So higher brain living is about releasing stress, activating more of the parasympathetic, so you're more relaxed. You're not in that flight or flight mode. And, it could be, your job, it could be any number of things, and
Yeah, I think today a lot of people are in fight or flight mode, and then they're stuck in it. And it drains their adrenals and creates all kinds of problems. And it's just, being alive today is stressful.
Yes. I mean, it is probably more, I would say, especially since most of us spend a lot of times on computers or cell phones, that energy will disrupt cellular communication to some degree. So it's about putting balance. And I actually have a energy scan that measures sympathetic, parasympathetic, and what you would call burnout, emotional burnout. It's called a heart rate variability scan. It measures your aura, your chakras, your stress, your Chinese energy meridians, and other things, just to help people realize that, maybe your sympathetic system might be in overdrive.
Yeah.
Maybe some of these things are, affecting you.
Absolutely true. Yeah. One of the first things I do with a new patient is I turn off the sympathetic system, get them into parasympathetic so they can heal.
That's
So,
awesome.
What's a Joy Facilitator?
Well, I sort of assumed that name from going through my own life processes. Joy Facilitator is about creating your life and about creating it with joy and intention, because the only time that we are really creators and is when we live in the now, and that we have an intention for that and how to do that. And so according to higher brain living, we create areas of our lives. You can subdivide them, but they are your mind, your emotions, your thoughts. That's one area. The second area is your health, your body. Third area is our relationships. And the fourth area is any creative endeavors. So it could be your career, it could be any aspect of whatever gives you joy. So we create intentions in area so that and not only that, we activate it with our breath work and with touching certain energy meridians every day that I do for myself as well, so that I'm repeating to my subconscious mind what my intentions are, how I want to, be in the world and create for myself. So I think it's one of the how was borrowed, the originator, Dr. Cotton, read someone called Ken Wilber, an American philosopher, and he writes, I think it's called Integral Vision, about those 4 areas of our life. And he also, like the Hawkins talks about, there's different levels of awareness in each area, in each way. You can think of levels of awareness of our identity, or our ways to create health, all of that. It's all a gradient that we have the possibility of more and more as we have more and more awareness. It's about really creating more. So, I don't expect anyone to go out and buy Integral Vision, but it's a fascinating study of, I think it's like the chakras, you go through this level and then you go, it's more and more depth as you, you can define yourself in terms of emotions, your sexual identity, any number of things.
It sounds like it is based on the chakras, and you have the higher level understanding and the lower level understanding, and the awarenesses and the balance and the maturity level of the chakra. And each chakra is also related to initiations, spiritual initiations. And how far along are you in each of those initiations? So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yes, I like to say that your whole physical body is a reflection of your subconscious mind. One of my teachers, she's in Costa Rica. She used to be in Canada, but the shape of your nose, or your mouth, how big your chest is, or if your chest is very thin, it tells something about your chest chakra. Mm-hmm. So if you have a very thin, small chest, that indicates like a lack of love. I'm not saying you're not loved, but I'm saying at some point there is some lack there of that. And even having a huge overdeveloped chest, I'm not talking, but you can tell it if there's the upper arms are really huge. That's the heart chakra too. So you can tell about people looking at them from their shape of their bodies. You can read their some of their subconscious, programming, all of that just from looking at their body.
And that's part of holistic diagnosis as well. We learned that in acupuncture school. Looking at the face, you can actually diagnose people looking at their face and telling which elements they're part of. So yeah, okay. That's actually pretty well developed and documented.
That's awesome. Yeah, I would love to learn more. I'd love to come visit you.
Well, I would love to have you here.
Okay, well, we'll make a plan.
I'm in Arizona, just south of Sedona, so I'm fun to visit because lots of cool stuff here.
Yes.
So just to reiterate again, your free gift was 10 ways to have more joy. It's an ebook plus a meditation. It's at miraclesandwellness.com/free gift. So Agnes, do you have any closing words for our audience?
Well, I think that, just go out and, start somewhere, the next time to get started. There's, now is your time because the past doesn't matter and the future you're creating right now. So just get started on something. Say yes to something because I love saying yes to learning more. And I think investing in yourself is the best. So
I agree completely. So thank you for being our guest, and thank you all for listening today. We really appreciate it. And if you give us a little subscribe, we appreciate that too. So remember to be the light you want to see in the world.